Over the years, I've been quite complimentary of the glow up that Vauxhall has managed to achieve. Once a brand known for being drab, not particularly exciting, and rather cheap, it's now elevated itself in every single way. They now have a really good offering of vehicles which have been improved to look more stylish, have better equipment inside, have better quality used products, and also have slightly better engines, although that's never really been Vauxhall's strong point. The VXRs were quite exciting, but they've never been known as the everyday cars for being brilliant cars to drive. But has that changed? 2025 and the bar for family SUVs is higher than ever before. So Vauxhall have really got to work on their products to make sure that they stay competitive. This is the Vauxhall Grandland. It received a glow up in 2024, and in today's video I'm going to be finding out whether it's still a competitive family SUV. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching, and if you like new car reviews and car content, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We're going to be talking all about the petrol hybrid today. I've already done a full review of the electric version, and if you want to find that, it'll be somewhere up there. But to me, this is what a Vauxhall Grandland is all about, because this is the most affordable one, and this is the one that's going to be the best for families.
It's the second generation Vauxhall Grandland, aimed at the likes of the Ford Kuga and Kia Sportage. The second version is longer, wider and taller than the first generation, which was introduced back in 2017 in replacement for the Zafira and then facelifted in 2021. This, however, is an all-new Grandland, and it sits as Vauxhall's largest family car, and with prices starting from just under £35,000, it's hardly the budget option. But every version comes with a particularly high specification compared to its competitors.
At the end of last year, Vauxhall improved the styling of the new Grandland, and actually it's not just the styling, it now sits on a completely different platform. It's much larger, and that's great news for families because there's even more space than ever before, and rear space and boot space is extremely competitive. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But in terms of styling, the new Vauxhall Grandland features the same visor front grille that we've known from Vauxhall, but it's no longer just a standard visor grille, which was finished in black. It's now 3D, and it also has a party trick. So as you unlock and lock the car, that front badge will start to glow, connected with the light bar to those LED headlamps. I think that this looks great. Now, it doesn't actually run on when you're driving, as far as I'm aware, but it does work as you lock and unlock. You get this lovely glowing effect, which I think is quite nice. I'm really surprised that of all brands who have gone for this light up badge, that Vauxhall are one of them, because of course, you've got Volkswagen, Cupra, quite a few brands are at it, but that's really quite nice. It feels stylish, and it's definitely elevated the Grandland. You've also got this wonderful new bonnet crease, which runs all the way along the centre. And what I like about this is it's so cohesive because there's a little bit of styling onto the interior as well, and I'll show you that in a moment. It's a very palatable looking car, not particularly over the top. They've kept it simple, but they've just added nice elements of styling, which do make it feel a bit more grown up than the outgoing model. You've got elements of gloss black along the bottom. You've got some nice contrasting two-tone wheels in that gloss black. And also you've got the chrome effect. And then you've got some body cladding just around those wheels and along the sides of the doors. You've got contrasting door mirrors and also a contrasting roof on this slightly higher specification model. Something that I'm not too impressed with when it comes to this car is the keyless entry system. So I've got the key in my hand, and usually with keyless entry, you literally walk up to the car and you can open it. But it's not quite that simple with the Grandland. So you've just got a little groove on the door handle, and you have to kind of massage the groove, and then it will open up. But hopefully the interior is more impressive. Peugeot ran so that Vauxhall could walk. You can tell that so much of Peugeot has just bled into the cabin of the Grandland, but that's no bad thing. Peugeots have had some of the best cabins on the market for so long now, so it's very kind of them to give a little bit of that title to Vauxhall, and they've done a wonderful job actually of giving it its own personality. So that crease on the bonnet, remember how I said that continues into the cabin? So just up here, you have that spine which flows through the inside of the car, which I just think is a lovely touch. And that's not the only place they've done that sort of design either. So on this steering wheel, once again, you have got the front visor, which is this part of the steering wheel, and then you've got the spine down the centre, and then also that spine runs all the way down to the rear light as well. I do think it's just a very nice flowing design language that Vauxhall have gone for, and I have to applaud them for it. So the good inside of this cabin, well, the materials all feel very nice. I like how brands are now using a mix of materials. It makes things really interesting, and that's something that Vauxhalls weren't before. You've got carbon effect up top here. You've got gloss black, but you've got gloss black in areas that you don't touch, which is good. You've got some chrome plastic along the centre, but that's quite nice. And then you've got these fabric material along the dashboard. You've got it along this centre console here, a bit more of that chrome. You've got leather on the armrest, leather on the steering wheel, and you've also got some grey stitching on the steering wheel as well. This is the GS trim, so this is the slightly sportier one, but I think it really suits the cabin, so that is brilliant news. I also quite like the layout as well. So you have got your cup holders, and I want to talk about these cup holders for a second because I didn't use them properly and then it ended in tears. So I had a cup sitting in here, and the other day I had to emergency brake because a rabbit ran out in front of me and the coffee spilled and it hit the windscreen, it went all over here, and it was a right mess. And I was so annoyed at myself because Vauxhall has these really cool little sliders which you push in and you slide and they hold your drinks in place. Now, if I'd actually just not been lazy enough and used those properly, it would have held my coffee into place. So that's quite a clever little piece of engineering, which means you can mix around the amount of space on offer within those cup holders. You also have your gear selector in the centre, as well as your drive modes. And then you've got some storage here, which is behind this kind of cover. And I love when brands do this. It means you can keep everything really nice and tidy and hidden away, but then you've got access to storage there. You've got a wireless charging pad, which actually sits behind here. And there's a little bit of a screen where you can just get a peek through to make sure your phone's still charging. And then you have got 2 USB-C chargers there as well. And let's slide that back. And then you've got a split opening armrest, and you get a little bit of storage with this little customizable little pop-out drawer which you can put your keys in there or your change, stuff you don't want to get lost. And it's just as well that there's quite a bit of storage there and up front and also underneath here, because the glove box is tiny. It's got one of those silly French glove boxes that mean that they haven't changed it for the UK, so it's still half a glove box, which is a shame because the brand has started to change now and they started to give us full glove box, but the Grandland still has a small glove box, which for a family car is a bit of a shame. You've got storage inside the doors. These seats are really, really lovely. These GS seats, a mix of cloth, leather, grey, black. It's very cohesive to the rest of the cabin, but once again, they're really interesting. And also, these are ergonomic seats, so they're ultra comfortable on long journeys. Now, if I start the car back up, and we'll take a look at the touchscreen. So the best thing about the screen in the Vauxhall is you have this really sleek screen which then blends together with the digital driver's display. However, you still have physical climate control dials at the bottom there, and you also have some physical buttons here for your home, for your car settings, and to take you straight to your climate. So if you want to have extra functions on your climate like your heated seats, heated steering wheel, that is all found in there. So it's a very simple layout with the perfect blend of style, practicality, screens and physical buttons. Well done, Vauxhall. You seem to have found the perfect mix of all of those things. So why don't we take this out for a drive and see whether they've improved the rest of the Vauxhall Grandland. This version of the Grandland features a regular hybrid setup, combining a 134 brake horsepower 1.2-litre 3-cylinder petrol engine with a 28 brake horsepower electric motor powered by a 48-volt battery. This allows the car to operate engine-free for short periods when you're around town, and this configuration is similar to that of Vauxhall's cousin, the Peugeot 3008. But it's not the strongest aspect of the Grandland's offering. There are better versions, and I do think the electric is one of them. The numbers tell the story. While the 1,600 kilogram curb weight isn't excessive, over half a tonne lighter than the Grandland electric actually, the 134 brake horsepower output just feels inadequate, especially considering this vehicle has grown. The car's 0 to 62 time of 10.2 seconds translates to a sense of sluggishness when accelerating. And the driving experience is further hindered by a noticeable delay between pressing the accelerator and the car actually taking action, and this contributes to a feeling of lethargy. Additionally, the dashboard display offers limited information on whether the electric motor is actually engaging, and there's no EV button, so you can't fully put it in electric when you want to. And this does diminish some of the satisfaction of driving the petrol engine at low speeds. Unlike some of the hybrids that indicate how much throttle can be applied without activating the engine, the Grandland leaves that discussion to the vehicle. However, on the positive side, it does boast a strong fuel economy of official figures up to 51.4 miles per gallon, which does make it one of the best in its class. Comfort is another area where the Grandland struggles. The ride quality lacks some of the suppleness that's definitely needed for British back roads, and that often results in a jarring experience over bumps. Interestingly, my experience with the electric version suggests that it handles road imperfections better than this hybrid model, which is surprising because, of course, that's much heavier, but maybe they've counteracted that. On the brighter side, the steering is well weighted for both high speed and urban driving, and the body roll is actually well controlled for a mid-sized SUV. And whilst Vauxhall say that it has fuel economy of above 50 miles per gallon, what I was surprised about is when I was at the pumps, just how little I got for my money. So when topping up the Grandland, I put in £20, it was nearly on the empty, and that gave me 130 miles. And it hardly moved the dial away from the zero, not even half a tank. So that either indicates that this vehicle has a larger fuel tank than I was expecting, or it's not quite as efficient as they claim. My figures say that it's running at 46.2 miles per gallon, so actually that's pretty good, and that's not too far away from the 50 claimed. Maybe it is just a large tank. And you may be thinking, well, that's not particularly a glowing review of the Grandland's drive. But the thing is I'm always talking from a sense of an engaging drive and something that gets you excited. And that's really not what the Grandland was ever designed for. The only thing I think for everyday driving that you might find a little bit jarring is the ride comfort. It's just a little bit bumpier than I was hoping for such a large SUV. But the steering is well weighted, and though I said it is rather sluggish at times, that's if you're trying to push this vehicle hard, which probably not many people are going to do. Drive it gently, and actually the driving experience is absolutely fine, and I think most people will find it more than adequate. The only other thing to note whilst driving the Grandland, which I've found personally, is it feels huge. It has this real large presence on the road. I know it's grown all round, but it doesn't particularly feel nimble. I found myself at times having to look over to the bonnet to make sure that I wasn't too close to other vehicles on the road, which some people might find unnerving if they're going from a small vehicle to their first SUV. And as your everyday family car, arguably, space is more important than how it drives. So how much space does the new Grandland actually have? Well, boot space, this is really impressive. Inside here, you'll get 550 litres. That is over 130 litres more than the JQ J7 that I tested the other day. You've got a really wide opening. You've got storage underneath the boot floor. You've got a parcel shelf, which arguably doesn't feel quite as premium as the one in the J7. But overall, it's a really easily accessible space with a ton of room inside. And it's the same space regardless if you go for this hybrid or if you go for the electric model. The thing that I am disappointed about, however, is on this GS trim, it's a manual boot, which just isn't great for family life. What about the rear interior space? The good news is they haven't nabbed any of the rear interior space to give you extra boot space. It's still really spacious in here, and in fact more spacious than before because you have an extended wheelbase. They've also done clever things like carved out the backs of the seats so it gives you extra legroom. This is in my driving position, and as you can see, I've still got lots of legroom and plenty of headroom. That goes on for miles. It's a little bit less if you go for a panoramic sunroof, but it's still very good. You can happily sit 3 people side by side back here. You've got a pull-out armrest where you'll find a couple of cup holders, and you've got a little slot to put your mobile phone. You also have a mobile phone pouch on top of these seat pockets. You'll find 2 ISOFIX fitments on both of the outer seats. We've got storage inside the doors, 2 USBs and a 12-volt charger. The only thing that's negative about the rear of this cabin is it's not customisable in the way that it's set up. So you can't slide the bench backwards or forwards to give you extra boot space. And also, they don't lean forwards or backwards, so you're set in one position. That's a bit of a shame, but overall, it's still a very good place to spend time. The added space and practicality of the new Grandland has made it more competitive for families than ever before, but this is an extremely strong market, with new cars entering every single day, and those engines of the Vauxhall Grandland do let it down slightly compared to the competition, and some of the spec on offer isn't quite as good as the Chinese manufacturers. But let me know, what do you think of the Vauxhall Grandland? Have they done enough to make this vehicle appealing? Let me know in the comments down below. I really hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Until next time, guys, see you later.